Hi, good morning everyone. In today's I'm planning to cover the basics of multi-layer perceptron. As we discussed, multi-layer perceptron is for complex nonlinear decision boundary or to handle complex nonlinear classifications. Before we move on to the multi-layer perceptron in detail, a node in a neural network is represented here as follows. Capital X is nothing but the vector consisting of the feature components. Earlier we have represented x1, x2 up to xn appended with the value 1, and capital W is nothing but the weight vector consisting of w0, w1, w2 up to wn, and the output of that neural network here y is represented as a function of w transpose into x. Earlier, every node has the two components which I have discussed. The first component is nothing but the adder followed by the nonlinear function. In the adder, I have given sigma I equal to 1 to dwi into xi. Now it has been replaced in the form of w transpose into x. Both are same. W transpose x is nothing but is in the form of vector, and the earlier that we have discussed was in the scalar form. Now coming to the multi-layer perceptron architecture, so it can handle the complex nonlinear decision boundary. Let us discuss more about the architecture. The number of nodes in the input layer. So it has an input layer, output layer. Other than that, it can have one or more number of hidden layers. So the number of nodes in the input layer, which is shaded as yellow here, same as the dimensionality of the feature vector plus 1. That plus 1 is nothing but including the bias. The number of nodes in the output layer is same as the number of classes, which is shaded in the green color. The number of hidden layers actually varies, and it depends how complex the nonlinear decision boundaries are. The number of nodes in the hidden layer is also actually vary. So for practical applications, at most 2 hidden layers are sufficient to solve any problem. So there is no formal way to decide the number of hidden layers or the number of nodes in the hidden layer. As actually I pointed in the beginning, it depends on how complex the decision boundary in order to separate the several classes. It depends on that. As before, the output from the kth layer goes to the input of k plus 1th layer. So the output of k layer is connected to the k plus 1th layer. The output of every neuron in the kth layer is connected to the input of every neuron in the k plus 1th layer, as it can be seen here for any hidden layer as well as the output layer from the input layer. For input layer, other than passing the signal, it has nothing to do a role, so it is drawn in the square box. For any layer, say kth layer, the number of weight vectors is much more than the number of weight vectors that we have discussed earlier, that is in single layer perceptron, because of increased the number of layers in between. So obviously the number of weight vectors is also increased in between the layers. Each of the node in all layer except the input layer gives a nonlinear function in addition with the adder. So a node can be represented as adder unit followed by a nonlinear function which is f. So in case of multiple layer perceptron, the nonlinearity that we have to follow is the sigmoidal function. Before getting into the nonlinear function in the multi-layer perceptron, let us recall what is the nonlinearity that we have used in single layer perceptron. In single layer perceptron, we have used a simple threshold nonlinearity function it takes of the form y equal to 1 when x is greater than or equal to 0 and y equal to 0 when x is less than 0. So you can see this is a simple threshold, and this we have followed at the output of the output layer. So it depends on how many number of nodes in the output layer. If there is an only one node in the output layer, then we have to apply the simple threshold on that node. If there are a multiple number of nodes in the output layer, then we have followed this simple threshold function for every node in the output layer. So it depends on the output is a scalar or a vector. It depends on the number of output in the output layer, so number of nodes in the output layer. And this was the simple threshold function that we have used in case of a single layer perceptron. Now, as I said that in case of multi-layer perceptron, the nonlinearity that we are going to use is nothing but the sigmoidal nonlinearity. So the sigmoidal nonlinearity is of the form as shown in the graph. The x-axis takes the value W transpose x, and when you apply the sigmoidal function on W transpose x, the y-axis value ranges between something 0 to 1. So it takes the value between 0 and 1. If y is a function of x, here y is nothing but sigma W transpose x is nothing but the function of W transpose x, and it can be represented as sigma W transpose x equal to 1 divided by 1 plus e to the power minus W transpose x. So when the W transpose x value is plus infinity, the value of sigma W transpose x equal to 0. When the W transpose x is minus infinity, the value of sigma W transpose x equal to 0. So when the W transpose x equal to 0, the output of that sigma W transpose x equal to 0.5. So the output function is limited between the values 0 and 1. If we replace that W transpose x by the value s, if s is 0, then sigma s turns out to be 0.5. So it is a symmetrical nonlinear function around the value of s is equal to 0. So the advantage of using this type of nonlinear function is that it is differentiable, because sigmoidal is a continuous function. You can recall that in case of simple threshold function, when x equal to 0, there was an abrupt change. So it is a non-continuous, whereas it is sigmoidal function is a continuous for the value x equal to 0 as well. So the sigmoidal function is of differentiable, whereas the hard threshold is nothing but the simple threshold is not differentiable. But sigmoidal function is a continuous function, so because of that it can be differentiable. So another very important observation is that if you take a differentiation of this sigmoidal function, so which is denoted in the below, dou of sigma s divided by dou of s, we can get in the form of sigma s multiplied by 1 minus sigma s. So this is the derivative of this sigmoidal function, which is nonlinear function, and we will make use of this derivative in subsequent lectures. So we have to remember this. If you take the derivative of the sigmoidal function, sigma s, it has in the form of sigma s 1 minus sigma s. Now, other than sigmoidal as a nonlinearity function, so the most popularly used nonlinear function in the deep learning is nothing but the rectified linear unit, which is also called as ReLU. So The simple graph of ReLU is shown here. So it takes of the form max of 0 comma x. So if y is a function of x, then y will get a maximum of 0 comma x. If x is greater than 0, the value y gets the value of x. If x equal to 0 or less than that, y gets the value of 0. So this simple nonlinearity is also widely used in case of deep learning network. So during training we minimize the loss. Okay, so why do we take all these nonlinearity function which should be differentiable? Let us recall, during training we have to minimize the loss function. The loss function is nothing but the error function. So we set up the error function at the output layer, and we have to set up the error function or the loss function and then use gradient descent approach to minimize that loss. So the gradient descent is nothing but taking differentiation in multiple direction. Hence it is required, since we have to take care of the nonlinear function, if it is differentiable, it is very easy or convenient for us to represent the notation for the error function. So any nonlinear function that we are supposed to take should be differentiable. So that's the purpose of using the sigmoidal or the ReLU as the nonlinear function in case of multilayer perceptron. Also, unlike linear mapping, where the linear mapping is represented as y equal to x, or y is some function, sorry, y is some constant c into x, these mappings like y equal to max 0 comma x uh, comes under the nonlinear mapping. Now let us take some of the notations that we are going to use in the multilayer perceptron. Now the first one, small x subscript I superscript k, so which is nothing but the output of the ith node in the kth layer. So you can relate this in case of a diagram which is shown here. So the node I is represented as in the purple color hidden layer, which is represented as k, and the next layer, so we can consider that orange color shaded layer is not the output layer but one node in the one of the hidden layer or next hidden layer. Let us consider k plus 1th layer. So the xi, so if you take any node I, the xi superscript, sorry, subscript I superscript k, xik, the output of the ith node in the kth layer. Okay, so this was obtained from the previous layer input, which is shaded in the blue color. Similarly, we can represent xj k plus 1 as, so which is shown as the output of the orange color node, output of the jth node in the k plus 1th layer, where the input has been taken from the previous layer, which is shaded in the purple color. And we will make use of wij, which is shown the connection weight between the node I and node j in this diagram. So it is the connection weight between the ith neuron to the jth neuron, so which can be represented as wij. And we also make use of notation wij k plus 1. So it is the connection weight between the kth layer neuron to the k plus 1th layer. So if we denote, so since the weight vector is represented in the forward direction, so where the weight vector gets connected is represented as the superscript. So now if we note down, the weight vector is point from k to k plus 1th layer, so the k plus 1th layer is represented in the superscript. Also, the output of any node, if you consider in the hidden layer, the output obtained is in the form x I k plus 1. Now let us consider the output obtained by the jth layer. in the k plus 1th layer, which can be represented as xjk plus 1, is nothing but capital R. Capital R is nothing but the nonlinear function, and then the summation I equal to 0 to m subscript k, where m subscript k is nothing but the number of nodes in the kth layer. For example, if we consider the kth layer, there are 3 number of nodes which is shaded in the purple color, that mk is nothing but 3. So obvious. So what is the input that we are getting to the orange node is nothing but the input that is getting to the orange node is nothing but from all the node of the purple color. So which can be represented as wij. Wij here is nothing but w1j and w2j, w3j. Why? Because there are only 3 number of nodes in the kth layer, multiplied by the input given to that purple nodes, which can be represented as xik. So all these notation is same as what we have discussed in the single layer multiple output neural network. So the input that take for this purple color is denoted as xik, and the weight vector connecting between the ith neuron and jth neuron is represented as wij plus 1, and we have to take the linear combination of all this ranges from I equal to 0 to mk, where I equal to 0, that includes the bias weight vector. After taking up the summation, we have to apply the simple nonlinear function, which can be represented as capital R over here. Now after discussing that notations, here another architecture. This diagram I'll make use of in discussion of derivative of the weight updation rule. So now given this, let us consider there are total k number of layers, which is represented as capital K, and the number of hidden layers varies from 1, 2, 3 up to k, or capital K minus 1. The input layer is represented as number 0, because other than passing the signal it has nothing to do. So the input layer represented as number 1, hidden layer starts from 1, 2, 3 and so on, and then it goes up to capital K minus 1, where capital K is nothing but the output layer. So the output of a node in the output layer can be represented as capital O J K. So the output of the jth neuron in the kth layer, capital kth layer, so which is nothing but the output of jth neuron in the output layer. Similarly, we can represent it as M capital K, which is nothing but the number of nodes in the kth layer. If it is capital K, the number of nodes in the output layer. If it is subscript the lowercase k, then it is taking the hidden layer ranges from 1 to capital K minus 1. And this diagram we have to remember, and this diagram I'll make use of for the subsequent lectures. And note down the input feature vector is also represented in terms of components 1, x1, x2 up to xd. All these can be replaced by the capital X. Similarly, all the weight vectors we can replace with the capital W, where W is nothing but the weight vector, capital X is nothing but the input feature vector. Now with this, what to do? So as before, the goal is to set the error function or the loss function, which can be represented as sum of squared error, capital E. And our goal is to minimize the loss function using gradient descent approach. This is nothing but taking a derivative in multiple direction. Hence, all this nonlinear mapping should be differentiable. And by using this gradient descent approach, we have to update the weight vectors at every iteration until all the samples are correctly classified. So the overall goal is to find the weight updation rule for the output layer as well as the hidden layer. Now recall, we have done the weight updation rule for the output layer in the single layer perceptron because there was only a single layer. So we have done the weight updation rule only for the output layer. Now in case of multiple layer perceptron, there were more number of hidden layers as well as the output layer. So we have to follow the weight updation rule for the output layer separately and the weight updation rule for hidden layer separately. This is what we are going to do in the next class. Thank you.